much, Sue. Well, power companies could soon be paying you to cut your energy use. Peak Smart technology is already installed in air conditioners throughout Queensland as part of the state's demand management initiative. The Australia Institute is calling for market reform to allow the emerging technology to be more accessible across the country. For more, I'm joined by the Institute's Energy Policy Lead, Dan Cass. Dan, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Kath. Glad to be here.
Can you take us through how this peak technology works and how demand management works?
Right. So our grid was really designed for another era, and perversely, the market currently props up coal and holds back renewable energy and doesn't allow the energy market operator to balance the grid in the most efficient way possible. So all demand response means is paying consumers to lower their use of electricity when that's cheaper than paying generators to generate more. And Peak Smart is just a particular technology that controls air conditioners in Queensland, has been proven to be very reliable, with something like 100,000 homes signed up and part of the grid there.
You say it's been proven to be reliable in the sense that it can still cool your home, but has it also brought down the bills?
Right. So in Queensland, it's a centralised, you could say, command and control version of demand response. So the network runs the demand response program on behalf of all the energy consumers, and it provides reliability. What we're proposing is a little different, which is firstly to open up the market around the country and to make it a fully market mechanism. So it will be the market, a price signal, that decides whether demand response is bid in, and when it does get bid in, it competes against all the generators. So even consumers who don't participate in wholesale demand response benefit because the wholesale price is reduced, and that's a reduction for the whole market.
So is there, Dan, an appetite for this from both consumers and suppliers?
Well, that's the interesting thing. So demand response really is almost unanimously supported now by everyone except those who stand to lose, which are the incumbent generators and retailers. So all governments are COAG are behind the reform. The Australian Energy Market Operator and the Australian Renewable Energy Agency and the ACCC are on side, as are the Australian Industry Group and the National Irrigators Forum and all the councils of social service in every state. So it's really a winner for the market, but there will be losers, and that's the incumbents who won't want more competition.
So the Australian Energy Market Commission was due to unveil some new rules, I believe, today for the wholesale demand response mechanism, but that's been delayed. Why is that?
Right. So at the last COAG Energy Council meeting, it feels like the ministers really realised in a new way that we need to modernise our grid. We need to unleash the power of renewable energy and make the grid fit for purpose. And innovations like demand response and fast frequency and so on mean that we can see coal-fired power exit and keep the grid reliable and even reduce prices over the long term. So the roadmap is a little complicated, but basically in 2025 there will hopefully be that very comprehensive reform of the whole national electricity market through COAG. Then in the medium term there is this two-sided and day-ahead market process that the ESB will report back to COAG in March next year. And then what the Australian Energy Market Commission is doing by delaying demand response is trying to make that change fit in. So it's a first step towards all those others. But just to be clear, when wholesale demand response is brought in, it will be a big step. It's the biggest reform to the structure of the national electricity market in its history. So it is a big step towards that comprehensive regulatory reform that Australia needs for our future, so we can have reliable, affordable and clean electricity.
Dan, how vital is such a mechanism to meet our Paris targets?
Well, interestingly, the International Energy Agency is increasingly signalling that demand response is crucial because it's the cheapest way that economies can transition from coal and meet the important Paris targets while maintaining reliable electricity, which is absolutely crucial for economies and for keeping the public on side deep and meaningful climate action.
And finally, Dan, just before I let you go, for people listening to this at home, we started off talking about air conditioners. I believe it's also in Queensland being used for pool heating or etc.
Yes.
For people out there, I mean, does it apply to a number of electricity users amongst the home?
So in Queensland, something like 55% of the 2.2 million consumers participate in some kind of this network demand management system. And around the country, we know there's over 2 million people living under little solar power generators on their roofs. So the potential in Australia is huge. And the thing to remember is households and businesses and industry who participate make money. They cut their bills directly. But even for those consumers who can't participate, they don't have the technology, or perhaps they don't understand how to make it work, they still get a benefit. This is the whole reason we want it to be in the wholesale market. It's opening up the market. So the added competition cuts the price of electricity for all consumers, even if they're not doing the demand response themselves.
Okay, some really interesting ideas in there. Dan Cass from the Australia Institute, many thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Time for sport now, and I'm joined by Jared Coote. And Jared, rugby